戦う以外にないようだな。
ウォーミングアップはこのくらいにして、そろそろその気になろうかな。
Hey everybody, it's Evan, and if you're unaware, both John and I are massive fans of the Dragon Ball series. It was a major part in our lives as we grew up. At our day job, we would find ourselves nerding out on all the nostalgia and any of the lore we could come across. We found ourselves leaving DBZ abridged on in our workstations often, or locking ourselves into a long-winded conversation with customers about favorite characters and even favorite moments in the series. And throughout all of this, I've held onto the belief that there really hasn't been a great Dragon Ball fighting game of any kind. I know, blasphemy. But if I were to take it upon myself to attempt to create the perfect Dragon Ball game, it would embody the whole feeling of the series. Not just seek to pack as many characters as humanly possible into one game. And up until now, that felt like the only goal for any of these major titles. So John and I found ourselves thinking, who would be best to carry the torch of this series? Who would be best to handle this IP? After much deliberation, we came to the conclusion that Arc System Works would probably be best for this. At the time, BlazBlue was a new release, and their history with Guilty Gear showed that they love fast action in games, but it seemed like Bandai Namco was pretty much hell-bent on keeping this title under their umbrella. So we figured that magical pairing of a company and a brand would probably never happen in our lifetime. So as you can imagine, with the announcement of Dragon Ball Fighterz, or Dragon Ball Fighterz Z, still not too clear on that, John and I have been talking almost daily about this game. He's even texted me about new character announcements while I'm in the middle of my day job, and I couldn't be happier. And as it turns out, this isn't even really the first time that Arc System Works had their hands on this brand. Surprisingly, back in 2004 and 2005, they released Dragon Ball Z Super Sonic Warriors 1 and 2 on the Game Boy Advanced and then the Nintendo DS respectively. This was back during the time when their Guilty Gear series was truly taking off. They were releasing new titles to that series once almost every year, and even more recently, in 2015, they released Dragon Ball Z Extreme Butoden on Nintendo 3DS. And the thing is, looking at these titles, I really don't remember them. There was no real advertising or buzz being generated about this. And looking at them, I kind of see why. I understand it's most likely the limitations of the systems being used, but even the older ones felt a little too slow. And even the 3DS title, which, if you look at it, does really feel like a core blueprint of what they're coming to now for Dragon Ball Fighterz. Still, it just wasn't quite as refined, and honestly back then might not have been the best time to even try and release this on consoles anyway, because I feel like over the past 5 years they've really been pushing to master the new Unreal Engine for their fighting games, and whatever they've done to maximize optimization while really not losing any visual fidelity at all, it was both perfect and necessary practice leading up to the creation of Dragon Ball Fighterz. So what do we all have to expect from this game? Well, from all the news and tweets and interviews that John and I have been keeping up with, it seems like the story at least will revolve around the super androids. They've even recently introduced Android 21. As far as I can tell, she was designed by fans of the whole Dragon Ball AF concept. Pretty interesting putting a fan-made character in this game. As far as we know, she's most likely not playable, but as for the characters that are, Arc Systems is looking to have between 18 and 30 characters set up for the release. And they are of course looking towards the possibility of releasing even more for DLC. And although the timeline this game is set in is related to Dragon Ball Super, they are open to the concept of characters from Dragon Ball GT. But that'll be for a later date. Although fans of the series would probably know that Frieza and Yamcha isn't exactly a good matchup, this is the type of game where it's not going to be completely imbalanced. And it's been said that character picking is more about creating a team that fills a playstyle that matches what you want. It's been brought up by many in the beta that a lot of the characters feel very similar, but Arc Systems assures us that with the characters they have still to create, we have a lot to look forward to in terms of unique roles and playstyles. And I actually have a lot of faith in that statement. As a fan of Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, it was very clear that their character design tends to take #1 priority. And all of this on top of any of the nuance and details we've seen in any of the videos and tournaments they've had so far for this game. It's become clear that all those years ago, John and I were right. Arc System Works and the Dragon Ball series. A perfect match. And it really couldn't have come at a better time, considering all the negativity that Capcom's been receiving recently for just how bad they've been handling some of their best titles. Arc System Works is poised to take the lead in the fighter market, maybe even grow it a little bit. It's like John said, he's not really into fighting games, but because the setting of this is in the Dragon Ball universe, it's not only a day one purchase, but a game he'll be playing frequently. And lucky for him, ArcSys has actually applied an easy combo system into the game itself. And I know from an esports perspective that doesn't sound like a good thing, but ArcSys assures us that the combos the game will create will be nowhere near peak performance capacity, and at the highest levels of play you probably won't be seeing anyone using that system at all. It's a great way to get the casual players through the door, which is also a great way to make sure your brand grows, which is also a great way to make sure the tournament scenes grow. So I'm actually all for it. I can't wait to see more information coming out about Dragon Ball FighterZ. I really can't. With only about 15 characters announced so far, they still have a little bit to go. I know who I'm hoping makes the list, but who are you looking forward to? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll try to keep you updated with any of the news coming out of Arc System Works. Until next time. Hey everybody, it's Kimmerix. Just a reminder, Spawnwave Media doesn't stop at just the YouTube channel. We also have a Patreon, which you can support and actually gain access to our community Discord from. Or you can also join in the conversation over at our subreddit. We should have the links in the description below, you can check those out. It's a great way to stay in touch with us, keep up to date on things happening, and they're a great way to keep the community growing. So please check them out, and we'll see you next time.